participants. No more practice balls on the tournament pairs. Please write the scores on both sheets. As you move, bowl in the lane that you're assigned on, regardless of which way the arrows go. Good luck.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Hindel Bowl here in Indianapolis for the 2021 Indiana Senior Masters Championship. Scott Gilmore, Mike Albee here in the broadcast booth once again. And, Mike, this is the first of the Senior Masters. We spoke about it in the State Masters and was giving Jeff Circle and the State Board a hard time about not having a Senior Masters. And here we are in October here. And we're going to find out our first Senior Masters here this afternoon.
Yeah, great amount of entries. So it's obviously we knew it'd be very popular, and it has been. And but now we get to see who wins the first one.
Well, we have 16 bowlers here this morning bowling a double elimination set up just like the regular Masters. And we have kind of a split squad here from a standpoint of lefties and righties. I've heard we have 9 lefties here this morning bowling, 7 righties. So obviously the left side kind of favorable for most here. And
yeah, from what it looks like, just consistent. I mean, the scores were fairly low. If you look at it, and we have some really top-notch right-handers who just missed the top 16. So, it's one of those things where when you see a Mark Sullivan and a Mike Lish and a few guys like that who just missed the cut by less than 10 pins. I mean, obviously it's a spare, it's a good break, it's a bad break. I mean, there's a lot of things that can obviously create that, but it should be very competitive all day today because the scores are going to be close, and these are the guys that seem to be more comfortable out there than the rest.
Yeah, those bowlers you mentioned, Mike Lish just 6 pins off the cut. Mark Sullivan 1 pin behind him at plus 65, and John Bowerly Jr. right behind him at
Huge.
plus 63. So 3 really talented right-handers just missing the cut in this event.
All 3 would be you would consider a threat to win.
One thing that I noticed here too is we have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 super seniors in the top 16. And Mike, you want to explain what the difference between a regular senior and a super senior is?
Well, I know on the tour it's usually the 60-year-old, I believe, is the super senior, and I assume it's 50 and above here for just to be eligible to bowl as a senior event. Which I heard you're knocking on that door. Is that true?
Yeah. I'm a year away. I don't know if I should be excited or disappointed. I don't know.
Well, we won't let you forget it, so it won't matter. You can take it however you
Now, what
like
would
that.
you qualify for here?
I would definitely be a year into the super senior group, so 61 for me.
We don't want to talk too much about that. You're only as old as you feel, right?
Exactly, and there's not much you can do about it anyway, so you just kind of go with it.
Well, let's quickly get in tune here to the matches here. Right in front of us on 7 and 8 is a great match. Mike Mann from West Lafayette, Indiana, taking on someone everybody knows, and Tim Mack here, now that resides in Indianapolis.
Yeah, this is a tough match for both of them to start out with. Either one of them having to bowl each other in the first match, but Mike Mann, who I bowled with in junior leagues way back when, and but then you got Tim Mack, who on a national level, a world level, has been top notch and Hall of Famer, and difference in this match so far has been the carry. Tim's made some great shots and left a couple of tens, and Mike Mann's been able to get the carry, and they're both throwing the ball very well. So it's a tough match for either one of them to start out with.
Then on 5 and 6, just to the pair to the left of them, we have Trent Marner taking on Ben Caldwell. And Ben, no slouch, but looks like he had started out with the front 2 and then missed 2 single pin spares, and Trent Marner has jumped on that after a split with a double.
Yeah, we've seen Trent in many of these telecasts that we've been able to be part, at least I've been able to be part of. He's always in contention, but Ben throwing the ball very well.
Well, Trent coming off a big win in Las Vegas at the TAT last, I think it was in February, right around the Super Bowl time frame, and that was a big event, big win, over $20,000 in his pocket. So you know how that is, Mike, when you coming off a big win, a little extra money in your pocket. It's amazing how loose that arm swing gets, isn't it?
Yeah, well, the confidence level goes through the roof. I mean, if you can win events like that, you can be competitive in anything you bowl in. So it's just going out there and relaxing and letting it work.
Other matches, we have Bob Kammer, Mr. 900 here in Indiana, taking on his buddy John Riffle on 11 and 12. Dan Petrowski and David Clemens on 15 and 16. Ron Jonas and Jeff Bowman on 13 and 14. Scott Johnson and Joe Didion Sr. on 17 and 18. And 3 and 4, we have Danny Clark and Dexter Herod, a super senior. And Danny, I believe, was one of the top qualifiers, was the top qualifier in this tournament at plus 149. And Tim Mack coming in light, leaving the 2-10 split, and right after Mike kind of gives him a little bit of an opening with just a split conversion spare, Timmy wanting to come back with a strike, and now he's looking at an open right in the face here.
Yeah, Tim is a phenomenal person, let alone a bowler. But to continue to battle the injuries he's had to have and the surgeries and that, and to see him out there still being obviously very competitive, and he's always one not to be counted out no matter where he's at. And that's one thing here. It's double elimination. So, but he still has a chance. He needs to put some strikes together here, put some pressure on Mike Mann.
I know they talked about the pattern here. I don't have the specific pattern in front of me, but it was a little bit of a softer pattern. They wanted to make sure there was plenty of hook. Obviously, in the State Masters, for the what we would call the young kids, a little more difficult. The seniors bowled 4 games of qualifying. In the State Masters, they only bowled 3. So that extra game can make a big difference.
Well, things are going to change each and every game. So, yeah, one extra game. And the way they change, it depends how quickly you can stay up with those changes. And if it's a good change for you, then you'll welcome another game. If it's not, you want to get out of here quick. But
yeah, Chad, nice enough to hand me the pattern here. And we're looking at 44 feet, Mike, with 27 mils. So when you look at this pattern, obviously you have a ton of experience. What are you looking at when you're looking at this? And obviously the fans can't see this as they're listening to us, but
well, this may or may not surprise you. I don't look at graphs. Never have.
Never have.
When towards the last 4 or 5 years when I was on tour, they started posting the graph before each tournament. I never looked at the graphs. I mean, I always went out and let my ball be my guide, because even though you look at the graphs, the topography of the lane, the differences of that, the equipment, it's always going to change. So if I saw that and I expected one reaction and I got a different one, that puts in my mind, was it me? Was it the lane? Was it the ball? I don't need any extra outside, question marks. So this eliminated that for me, the guesswork, eliminated part of the guesswork for me. So I really didn't look at those things. I would much rather see my ball going down the lane or watch somebody else that's bowling around me and get an idea of what they're doing and then adapt to that. So, but there is some positives. People get caught up in the graphs a lot.
Well, one thing that I'm no expert on anything from that standpoint, but I didn't want to have a predetermined notion of where I thought to play.
Right. Perfect.
Right?
I agree totally with that.
I didn't want to think, okay, I'm looking at this, I have to play here, and I was going to find a ball that worked for me to play there. When in fact, if I went to something shiny or duller and moved left or right, I was actually in a perfect position, right?
You're exactly right, because like you said, it's as much mental as it is physical. So you're trying to get your game plan together. The last thing you need is something that's going to confuse you in that, where, like I said, you're expecting one thing when you see that, and the ball might do something different, or that part of the lane, and it could be because of the topography of the lane, what the lane surface looks like. It could be many varying factors. So I'm much better personally when I would go out there and just let my ball be my guide. It's kind of an old cliche, but
yeah, and with this surface, it's extremely high friction because they have Guardian on the lanes. So this isn't going to play like 48 or 44 foot.
And most bowlers nowadays probably have never even seen Guardian or know what Guardian is, or a wood lane for that matter.
Yep.
It's definitely an antique lane surface, isn't it? Plastic, obviously a thin layer of plastic on the lane, and it was kind of the segue, correct, Mike, from the wood to the actual full synthetic in a sense?
Yeah, it was something that would protect it and would be stronger and last longer. Mm-hmm. But if, and this seems to be in pretty good shape as far as that goes, but there were centers back, 20, 30 years ago that would go to that, but then they'd never change it. So it got as rough and as brutal, and really, you would put the oil on the lane and it would just absorb right through it, because there would be, the more and more wear you got, the less there was on top of the wood. So, it could be, and when the head's hooked, that's hard, unless you're going airmailing over the top of it and landing at about 15 feet down the lane.
Nothing like hook skid, was there? I mean,
yes. Well, if you watch Trent Marner, I mean, he's kind of eliminating that a little bit. He's getting the ball out on the lane.
Yeah, and he's on quite a roll. Ben Caldwell has 121 in the 7th, and I believe Trent right now is looking at a 4-bagger.
He had one open, I believe, before.
Yeah, I believe he opened in the 3rd, if I remember correctly.
Great shot there.
And Trent's got plenty of hand.
Yes.
Now, here's the thing. We always have it will never die, the lefty-righty argument, correct? Where people are going to hear about over half the field is lefty, and they're going to say, oh, the left-handers have an advantage. it's all reality of how the lanes break down. But when you get more lefties out here, they're going to see some transition just like the right side does.
You definitely will. I mean, there's be a lot more play, and it may be it's a rarity for some of the lefties to not run into that. So it's going to be a challenge for them. And it's also a challenge for the rights, where they may not see as much breakdown as they're used to. So, yeah, it's just another one of those things that, I tried to stay clear of any of that, because you just don't need, when you're in a Masters event, you're in a top-level tournament, it's tough enough to beat the guys, that are on top of their game. Last thing you need is something that's going to distract yourself or change your mental outlook. So, I mean, it's one of those things that it's there, it's always there. But so is it that, the guys that throw it straight against the guys that can hook it, the two-handers to you name it. There's always those controversies in bowling, and it's unfortunate, but a lot of it's fact. And in this tournament, especially when it's head-to-head match play, sometimes that goes out the window because you hit the wrong pair, the right pair. I mean, there's just so many pieces to the puzzle that you don't need to get yourself caught up in. But, Jerry Hindel and Mark Johnson, what a great job they do. The center looks great. It's clean. It's the lanes to be in good shape, and equipment's working well. So a lot of great pin action. I mean, Tim Mack's throwing pins like they're duck pins out there back and forth, and it's just they've done a great job here at Hindel.
Yeah, it's kind of surprising. We don't get over here very often either. And, yeah, you're right. It's a nice big center. Easy to get in and out of, right off of 465. And 67, if you're interested in coming over here watching some bowling, it's a very easy trip. And right now I'm looking over here, and Dexter Harrod is really kind of putting some heat on. He could have actually shut out Danny Clark with the spare.
He's up a little on the table for Danny. Yeah, Danny's got a chance.
Yeah, he's going to force Danny to throw the first two in the 10th frame to go around him with good pin count. He makes the spare. Mike Mann shoots 246 against Tim Mack, and he will advance into the winner's bracket. Trent Marner is going to advance easily here over Ben Caldwell. And it's always interesting, too. I'm not, when we go to certain houses a lot, for example, Championship Lanes host quite a few of state events, we kind of know the characteristics of the lanes from when you go from section to section of the house. I'm not really familiar with Hindel Bowl, so we don't know if is the low end of the house better than the high end of the house or vice versa. So in some centers you have those, and you kind of know when you get to that pair, you're up for a little bit more of a challenge, correct? And Danny Clark just left a 7-pin, and he'll lose his first round match.
I think you can make a little bit of an assumption, only the fact that in most centers the high ends and the low ends have less use than the middles, just because when open plays out there, the centers always put them in the middle, so you can always assume that the low ends and the high ends have less play.
Well, and the other thing, too, is when you look down, the counter is pretty much centered right in the middle of the bowling center, somewhere around lane 19, 20. So you got to figure that a lot of the play is going to be from 13 into that 31, 33
walking
range,
in common
right?
sense would kind of lead you to believe that. I agree. But here we are. This is the first match, so everybody had 10 minutes of practice on the pair. So now you'll see when they go to the next pairs, what's different about what they just came off of.
Well, I'm really curious to know too. Here is, obviously we won't be able to get to talk to Jeff during this event because he's busy conducting each match and each round. But I'm curious to see what the opinion is of the state board of the first event. I would think they have to be very happy with the turnout.
Yeah, I know they had a great amount of entries, more than they expected. So,
and you got to figure that it's just going to continue to grow.
Well, now Jeff's had most of summer off, right? I mean, he's got to have time.
I'm not going to say anything, but I would have to agree with you there.
But no, they do a tremendous job of, tournament in, tournament out, and it's not just tournament day and that. And there's a lot that goes into, keeping track of all the different entries and rules and all that stuff. They do a tremendous. We are so fortunate here in Indiana with the group we have that does this.
Well, that has the passion of wanting to conduct these events, because it is a lot of work. It's several days, and you're in a bowling center for long periods of time each of those days, and so it is. It's
passion is the only reason they're here.
We're very fortunate, and we're just about wrapped up with round number one. We do want to thank our sponsors before we cut off for the round of 16, we want to thank Motive Bowling, Pinheads Bowling Center, and Fishers, Mike Albee's Arrowhead Bowl, and Big Four Socks. I want to thank them for their contributions to make all of these events possible here in the state of Indiana. And speaking of Mike Albee's Arrowhead Bowl, we're going to be at your place here in a few weeks,
Boy,
right?
It's coming quick.
Indiana Scratch Classic. So we're looking forward to
yeah.
that. Always love going there. We're going to sit up in our perch up behind the, I believe, somewhere around 5, 6, 7, 8, somewhere in that range. And we always like going to your center, Mike. And again, if you're looking to bowl or watch, I believe it's the second weekend of November. So we'll be at Mike Albee's Arrowhead Bowl for the Indiana Scratch Classic coming up soon. But first, we're going to conclude here the round of 16. We'll come back after this short break for the next round here at the Indiana State Senior Masters.